Today, in the morning, you are very strong to come here so early, the second day. Thanks for that. We hope to make this panel discussion interesting and exciting for you, even we speak about standards. So, the topic is about changes of ISO 27001 and 02. So before we start, I just want to ask, how many of you are working with this standard? Could you please raise your hand? Okay. And how many of you already aware about the changes of second and the first standard? Great. So I think it would be a great discussion, and we extend it not only to our panel participants, but also for the participants of our audience. So a little bit introduction of myself. My name is Anastasia Ostapenko. I am a security consultant and is from Ukraine. I work mostly with IT product companies and help them to implement security based on risk assessment, widely using security standards. So it's my primary work, and this panel will be, for me, like very interesting to know about opinion about this topic from other experts. I wanna other panelists introduce themselves and share their great experience. You can start.
Okay.
Like anyone.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks.
The last one, okay. So my name is Abdul Najib. Actually, I'm a founder and CEO of my company and Advice, and I'm working at IEC as a IT security and threat intelligence officer. My previous experience was more focused on ISO 27001, implementing, auditing, risk management, etc. in many countries in Africa, like Cameroon, like Mauritania, Morocco, France, and now in Luxembourg. The reason why I'm here today, to share my experience with you. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm Alexis Hirschhorn. I'm the CEO and head of advisory services for Abilene Advisor. We are a consulting firm in Switzerland. We specialize in ISO 27001 implementations. We support it for large international organizations mostly. We have a track record of around 50 implementations at this date. I personally work in cybersecurity. I've been working for the last 25 years in the field and started with ISO 27001 in 2006. I'm also an MS-ECB auditor for 27001, like a few of the people in the room. I can see some faces I recognize here. And yeah, really happy to be here. Thanks.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Well, as introduced yesterday, my name is Dr. Obadare Peter Adewale. I'm from Lagos, Nigeria. I'm the Chief Visionary Officer and the co-founder at Digital Encode. Digital Encode is a specialized cybersecurity service firm which specializes in governance, risk, and compliance. And on personal capacity, I've overseen over, I think, about 35 ISO projects that cut across government, financial sector, telecommunication sector. And I'm very glad this morning to share my expert opinion. And also, I'm one of the very few privileged PECB ISO 27001 master. I don't know if any of you know about the PECB ISO 2701 master. Yeah, so we're very few. So just one. So I'm one of the very few that has that qualification. So thank you.
Great. Thanks for sharing. We want, in this discussion, cover main questions usually asked about the changes to the standards, and would like you to also be active and ask your questions. And I will ask questions to you as well. So first, I will ask you, and then redirect the question to the panelists. So this year, many different security standards were updated, including but not limited to these standards, 27005, also PCI DSS, and many others. So I think, and experts usually think, that changes are essential because new technologies emerge and standards need to be aligned to these new technologies. So the question is, how do you think, is even these changes are made, there is still a gap between technologies and risks they pose and the standard requirements. How do you think? Are there changes or not? If you think yes, please raise. If there is a gap, could you please raise a hand? People who write the standards, they try to reflect proper changes. They try to help companies to implement proper protection for new technologies, for risks that arise. But we see that changes in ISO standards not so much big, not so much that people expected, and I think that they could not even cover all risks that are now because of new technologies. So I want to ask the question to the panelists. How do you think, is there still a gap between standards and security, and even with these changes? And if you think that yes, what could help to mitigate this gap? Should we still update in the standards, or should we use any other tools except standards to improve security?
Shall I start?
Please, go ahead.
Okay. So actually, ISO 27001 is a standard, a certification standard, and it should be looked like this from this point of view. Meaning, actually, it's not a framework that we can learn from its technologies and security controls, but rather a standard that harmonizes the sector of information security. Actually, when a company is certified against the standard, it means that it gives an assurance to its clients and suppliers that it has some controls in place. And to answer the question, if there is a gap between standards and security, I could say confidently that there is no absolute security, and yes, there is a gap.
And what could help to mitigate this gap, from your opinion?
ISO 27001 I see it as a top standard that redirects to other frameworks. So we have the standard to implement like core controls, and then we can get some support from other standards like NIST, like more technical certification or standards.
So we should implement more standards to eliminate gap.
Can I say something?
Yes, of course.
Okay.
Thanks.
So good morning, everyone, once again. Yes, is there a gap? That's a very big question, and I think it's about, it looks like a chicken and egg situation, because there will always be a gap. And don't forget that when it comes to standardization, what it gives you, it's more minimum baseline or what you need to do. Is not a silver bullet. So even if the standard is going to be changed, because by nature, ISO standard should be changed once in 5 years. But of course, unfortunately, probably due to COVID, this new version of ISO 27001 has been around since 2013. So it's almost like 9 years. So there will always be that gap. But it's about the mindset. So we need to have a mindset reset about how we look at the standard, from the point of, okay, it gives you that minimum best practices, what you need to do. So if you look at standard, because to be honest, which we're going to see as we advance in this conversation, when I look at the new revision of what has happened, believe me sincerely, with what I've been doing prior to now, sincerely, the impact, because most of those things that you're doing now, honestly, if you have done the standard very well before, believe me sincerely, the impact will not be that huge. And I'm going to continue that conversation as we continue in this panel. Thank you.
Thank you. Alexis?
Thank you. Yeah, I really agree with you, Peter, on what you said. Just a quick question here. How many of you have implemented the standard? You remember this very first version in 2006, 2007? Some of you have implemented there in 2006, 2007? So yeah, I can see. I don't know how it was for you, but I will remember my first implementation was terrible. It was a complete disaster. I was implementing in a national bank, actually. I had no clue what I was doing. Yeah, I knew about information security, what I thought I knew, as much as you can know about it. But honestly, the standard was very clumsy. It was very difficult. It was so far away from really what the business needed that it was difficult to implement. Now, what we have seen over the years is that the standard has evolved to try to get more practical, be more pragmatic. Because in the end, what we all want is pragmatic cybersecurity. That's what you need. The standard is here just to support you in order to achieve that, exactly like Peter said. And I believe that this new version is getting one step further into being closer to what we need. Okay, we got better control, we got new controls, simplified things. It's helping us. We see more cloud, more PII in the Annex A, which is a good thing. Will it be enough? Certainly not. And exactly like you were saying, it's here to support you, and it's a mindset where we have to go. So I believe we're in the right direction. I don't think just the standard is enough, and like it says, you should look at the Annex A and select the control you need, and even grab other frameworks, NIST, PCI DSS, or other whatever suits to you, right, in order to complete that. But at least I think we're going better. We're going to the right direction.
Thanks a lot for the answers. I prepared the question to you. Hope it will sound more clear. So, when the company provides you an ISO standard, do you believe that it's secure? If you believe, can you raise your hand? Yeah, so yeah, it should have some level of security because they already implemented some measures. There is a question how they implemented these measures. It's also, there are different approaches, but there is still, I think this situation is problematic because organization put so many efforts in implementing security standard, obtaining security certification, passing audits each year, and their clients, their partners, security experts do not believe that they are secure, even they did a lot of work and a lot of investments. So this is a big problem, and maybe you can comment on that. How do you think? I would like, why is this happened? Why organizations do not believe, and why we still obtain this standard? Why we still implement this standard if it happens?
So the question is whether being ISO certified means you're secure or not. Basically.
Yeah, why, so we, do you believe?
I think we all know the answer.
Yes, so as all people.
And so this is why I disagree a lot. Yes, it's always very controversial when we have this kind of discussion because I've seen a lot of professionals, different theory on papers, articles, talking about standardization, certifications, and stuff like that. Here's my point. I strongly believe that's why I talked about the mindset. What do you want to do? You can use the standard for certification and be passing your audit every year, and you can use the standard to achieve good in security because what is even a standard in the first place? Standard gives you, it's standardization. It gives you something to work with. It's the beginning because prior to the standard, don't forget where we were coming from, what Alexis talked about. Before the standard, people were doing things haphazardly. There was no organized control, right? But the standardization, so it's about, do you want to use the standard as the ceiling or the floor of your house? So, because when a lot of organizations, because, they want to meet regulatory requirement, they want to meet business requirement, and because they want to talk to their partners, they pick the standard and I said, okay, let's tick the box. But that is not the true intent of the standard. The true intent of the standard is to look at the standard holistically and see how do we build a good security that give you 4 critical factors in terms of your architecture, your design, implementation, and how do you operationalize information security within your organization. So my point is, the standard should give you culture of security, not compliance. So it's because we get it wrong. Just like when you eat food, normally there is what? Balanced diet. But if you eat too much of protein, what do you have? If you eat too much of vitamins. So that's life. That's the reality of life. And that is the way we should look at the standard. So I believe that if you truly implement the standard, you will have good security, no matter the argument. Yes, there is no 100% security. It's about risk management, but you will not become a low-hanging fruit. That's the point.
Thanks.
So I would like to comment on your comment, Alexis. So actually, yes, maybe we can just, the answer just by the certification, but trust me, if a company just buy it like this. For example, from clients, there could be some due diligence, the right of audits, and trust me, when buying a certification, you get a reputation, a good one, but when, going through an audit, for example, for due diligence, etc., you will lose that reputation, unfortunately. And yes, it's really easy for an auditor performing or conducting a due diligence to detect if the ISMS is really performant, efficient, or not. So better not to do that.
Yeah, it's an interesting topic and question. I'm just going to talk here as certification auditor, like there are a few in the room. You know, when you go audit an organization that has already been certified to a different certification body, sometimes you're really, really surprised. And you look at it and you wonder, but how did they manage to get their paper hanging on the wall? You know, what happened? One of the good things, I work for different certification bodies over the years. One of the things I like with MSACB, not to do any advertising, but just to be frankly honest, is, well, often when I write a report, they will send it back several times, telling me, and I see some people they're nodding, understanding what I mean. We want more evidence, more detail about this and that. So the level of quality which is expected by MSACB is quite high, which is a great thing. Sadly, the majority of certification bodies do not have the same level of quality, which means people get a certification and yes, you trust your supplier, you trust your vendor saying they're certified. Does it mean they're secure? Certainly not. Part of the things we do at Abilene, we have a managed service we call Supplier Shield, and what we do is second-party audits. So basically, we are auditing, suppliers, third parties. Now, one of the things recently we found was an organization claiming they were ISO certified. They showed us a certificate. Then we looked at the certificate and we realized there was no certification, accredited certification body behind that. It was just a paper, well done. Okay, it was not a fake. It was a paper well done by someone claimed they gave them the certification. So a standard is a thing, a certification is another thing, and cybersecurity is definitely another thing and another level. In my opinion, the standard is a great tool to help you to get there, but it doesn't mean because you receive the paper then you're there. Okay.
So I think Alexis has touched on a very critical point that I will need to have a follow-up discussion on. Yes. So the question probably should be: is it the problem with the certification body or the auditors? And like you said, the truth is I've worked with a lot of auditors since I've been doing, because different times I wear the hat of a consulting firm. And I think the challenge is the quality of the auditors most of the times. Because a certification body, whoever, whether it's PECB, set up a criteria to become an auditor. You meet the criteria, it's just like a trainer. You meet the criteria, then you go and facilitate the training. PECB doesn't have the responsibility to ensure you're going to deliver the training well. The same thing with the auditor. I've worked with auditors that their knowledge, don't forget that the standard is a multidisciplinary standard. It means that if you're an auditor, you need to understand control around 3 elements: people, process, and technology. Most of the time, people understand people control. They understand policies, procedures, and then you get to an environment that the technology is very sophisticated, and then they're just trying to figure out what they need to do. And then, so what do? Of course, to hide your ignorance as an auditor, you will just say, okay, you guys are fine, okay, and then you push it. Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. So I think maybe the certification body should be more stringent on the, because now, then, and I think one of the apologies, I'm very passionate about it because most of the time you see auditors say, ISO 2701 is not a technology standard. Yes, it's not a technology, they said it's process-based, but if you do not understand technology, there is no way you can do an effective audit of the standard. So I think that mindset also should be changed, because the auditors come and say, oh, it's process-based, but then you see a threat intelligence solution that you cannot even audit and see how it works. So that's where the challenge is. my opinion.
So that's an interesting topic you're raising.
Yeah, I
And
just
threat
want.
intelligence, we can jump on that because that's one of the changes we have.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. We will return to changes to the standard. One more controversial question to audience and you, and then after this question, I will ask you. Okay.